Welcome back to For the Father podcast, where we uplift and encourage fathers to be the best version of themselves, to impact their families, and to improve our community, our culture, everything that it deals with being a father. We are here to help you. In this particular episode, we're going to be focusing on 3 key factors that you need to be aware of as a father. I'm going to get right to the point. There are 3 key things to be aware of as a father. Number 1 is self-awareness. We're going to unpack that in a little bit. Number 2 is child awareness. Being considerate of your child. We're going to unpack that a little bit. And then number 3 is environment awareness. When it comes to fatherhood, in order for us to better ourselves and those around us, we must first be self-aware, conscientious of everything that is plaguing our mind, that is affecting our spirit, our being, and then the impact of our kids, right? Kids do not understand or think the same way as adults. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then number 3, environmental awareness. The things that are surrounding us on a day-to-day basis, us, our lives, everything. And so I want to start off with a story, right? There was this guy who was trying to figure out how he could better impact his family. He felt like he was disconnected with his kids. He felt like there was always bickering and arguing, and he never got to a place. I was watching this video, and he was sharing his testimony about it. And then he realized that he was bringing his outside stuff into the home. Like, he had a bad day at work, and then he would instantly be frustrated with the kids. And I was like, man, I can relate to that in some ways, where if it's a long day and you're tired and you want to rest, and the kids, they're just happy to see you when you get home from a long day of work. And that really hit home for me when I heard this guy sharing the story. But just hearing him talk about understanding and being self-aware and realize what he was doing, he was allowing his external things to impact his connection with his kids, and he just kept thinking it was about the kids and about everything else that was happening in the home, but it was really the outside stuff coming into the home stuff. So when it comes to being self-aware, like, we really just at the core really have to be accountable for who we are as men, where we are mentally, where we are spiritually, even like physically, where our health is. We have to be in the right mindset in these areas. And so sometimes people of all kinds, they want to blame, they look at life, and if they're struggling in life, they're dealing with things, they want to blame this person, they want to blame that person, but they never look inwardly to see what is really going on. I am huge on self-awareness. One thing that I pride myself on is I might not take criticism well, but I'll listen to it, right? I don't think I'm too perfect not to hear something from someone, right? You always got to take everything with a grain of salt. Everyone has their opinions, right? But at the end of the day, we can never not think that we are not the problem. And I always keep that option open, right? And that comes with ownership. When you're a father, you have to be willing to own every aspect of fatherhood, own every aspect of leading your family, own every aspect of your family, right? Being accountable for your family. If your kid fails, you fail. If your wife fails, you fail. If your family's struggling, you're struggling. Even if you're not really struggling, you're over that family, you're over that unit, and you have to be willing to take ownership of that. You don't want to be one of those fathers that say, you know what, let the kid figure it out for themselves, let my wife figure it out for themselves, and I got myself over here. No, your family is an extension of you. And once you realize that, you take ownership of every single aspect of being a father. And it's not just bringing home the bacon. It's not just, providing. And when people say providing, they think, oh, I put a roof over their head. and I work all the time, and providing is giving everything that the family needs. Like when you're a provider, people automatically go to the 9 to 5, to the job, to the financial thing. Like, oh, I provide for my family. I make sure they have food. I make sure they have a house. Like that's all people really think providing is. But no, it is giving them insight, giving them wisdom. Providing is being that covering, that protector, that protection. We talk about protecting too, right? We got to protect our family's peace. We got to protect the family reputation. We got to protect, the hearts, the mind, the emotions of our children, of our spouses, right? We have to take every single aspect into the account. It's not just standing up for the family when someone comes against them, but it's showing them how to improve themselves on a day-to-day basis. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience when it comes to leading your family, especially leading by example, right? And so when it comes to self-awareness, you have to realize how you are coming off to your family. You might think you're fine. You might think you have a right to act a way or be a certain way, but you're impacting your kids. You're impacting your spouse. They're looking at you and they're responding to you. They're responding to that spirit that you're carrying. They're responding to that energy that you give off, to who you are and how you respond and react to things. That is affecting the hearts and the minds of your family. And it's key to be self-aware. If you're always frustrated, it might not be the family more so than it is you not really understanding the spirit that you're carrying in those moments, that emotion, that those things that are triggering you, right? Sometimes we as individuals, not just fathers, but people in general, have triggers. We've dealt with trauma, we've dealt with life experiences, and we have triggers that make us respond or act a certain way. And our triggers have no respect of person. It could be your young child that says something to you and you think it's disrespectful when really it's not. They don't know. They're just copying. They're mimicking you, but you take it as disrespect and then you respond to that, not understanding that they were trying to be loving, they were trying to be playful, they were trying to just engage with you or be like you. And 9 times out of 10, if your young child is doing something, and they're more than likely copying you. So be mindful of what they say and what they do that you get mad at, right? Like parents get mad at their kids for cussing, but then they're cussing around their kids. Parents get mad at the kids yelling at each other, but you yell, right? Like I grew up, everyone was yelling. It was whoever was the loudest one won the battle, right? And so that was something that I had to learn to just, not always go 0 to 100, but that's how I grew up, and especially being the youngest, you was always going tit for tat. You was always going at it. I'm always going at it with my siblings. Of course, since this is my podcast, I can say that it was always their fault and they always picked on me, and they can't really say nothing to that because they're not on my podcast. But they probably can listen in and be like eyes rolling. But I say that out of love. They know I'm messing around. But we have to be mindful of how we carry ourselves now. The things that we brought in from our childhood to adulthood, we have to reevaluate those things and be self-aware of like, okay, how I'm impacting my kids or treating my kids. Is this something that I took in from my childhood that I need to let go of? Is this something that I'm harboring on? Is this something that's a trigger of mine that I need to reevaluate in order to better approach my kids? Which leads me to child awareness, right? Your child thinks like a child, acts like a child. Remember, your child is a child. We forget, like, because we want our kids to get things right, we want them to learn. We forget how young our kids are, how their minds work, because society tells us, just beat them into submission, just yell at them, just spank them, you have to do all these extra things when really is just understanding that they're a child. Their minds are going a mile a minute, right? 10,000 miles an hour, right? Their minds are always on these different things. They're discovering, they're learning, they're being brilliant. They're realizing, understanding the world, and we as parents have to navigate that, right? When you tell them like, "Hey, pay attention, listen to this," but they're seeing like a butterfly, or they're paying attention to like the gloriousness of the the outside, right? And because we want them to just, "Hey, get over here because I told you to," right? That we're not being aware of our children. And another thing I had to learn too was that not bringing the workplace into the home, right? I separate my home from my work, right? And I'm glad I have long rides into work where I detox, but not saying my job is bad or anything. Sometimes, the days don't be good. Sometimes the days just be draining. Like just a long day at work can be just tiring. It don't got to be bad or frustrating. It just could be tiring. And when you're tired, you want to relax. And when you want to relax and that's disturbed, sometimes people coming up in your space can be bothersome, can be frustrating. But think about it from the kids' point of view, right? They have not seen you the whole day. And as soon as they see you, they're excited to see you. But then you're giving off that, like, leave me alone. I need a rest. I need to relax. Right. And we have to be mindful of how that's impacting our children. Another thing that me and my wife decided to do together too was not say anything negative or bad to our kids before they go to sleep or before they go to school. Right. If they didn't clean up their room before bed, don't why would you be the one to put misery upon your child before they go to sleep? Right? That these seeds are being planted, and we're wondering why they hear from other people, from other family members, why they gravitate to their friends at school, and they can't really connect at home because we're like their first bully, we're their first attacker, we're their first person that puts them down, and we decide I don't want to be that for my kids. So even if I'm frustrated or mad, or I felt like they didn't listen, the thing I want them to remember was love and peace before they go to sleep, or if they're gone for the day, right? How many movies you seen, right? How many movies you seen where the parent is driving the kid to the school and they're yelling, "You should have done this, blah 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 blah," and the kid's like, "I hate you, mom," or "I hate you, dad," and they slam the door, and then the parent gets in a car accident or someone shoots up the school and that kid is gone. They're like, "Oh, the last thing I remember was us fighting or us yelling." Like, how many movies? That's in so many movies, right? You don't want that experience to happen to you, and tomorrow's not guaranteed. So make sure before they go to sleep, the last time you drop them off at school or you're going to work or whatever it is, let that last moment be of love, of peace. Even if you have to discipline them, even if you have to yell at them, get down on that one knee, get into their face and say, "Hey, let me explain." Not even just say, and don't do this, don't do that. "I did that because I love you." That's like toxic. That's toxic parenting. "I spanked you because I love you." No, you can explain yourself. And I think that's what we miss as parents. If we are teachers, discipline, discipleship, that's discipline, discipleship, showing others the way. That's what true parenting is. So we can teach our kids. We have to be patient and allow our kids to learn what we need them to learn. So we get down and we say, "Hey, this is why you got in trouble. Because when you do this, this happens. Or I explained to you this XYZ amount of times. But we get so, because that's how we were raised, you should do this because I said so." Right? No, I mean, if the kids are discovering, "I said so" is not a discovery, right? And if we truly love our kids, why not take time to explain things to them? When we at work dealing with customers, we explain things to them. When it's our parents or people, random strangers in the street, we will take time to explain to them. If we're trying to pay a bill, if T-Mobile messed up my bill and we're trying to get it right, I'm going to explain to them. I'm not going to say, "Fix it because I said so." No, this is This is why I'm mad. This is why I'm mad, and you need to get it right. So why not give that our creation, our child? Why not be patient with them? That was something I learned. On this show here, I'm giving you guys my experience. I had it click for me. I'm like, why? You know, your child says something wrong to you the wrong way, and you just go off on them. But someone else in the street says something the wrong way, and you got patience. You might not ever see that person again. But you can show them love, you can show restraint, but you can't do that for your kids, right? We must be able to show more restraint, more love, more peace for our kids. That's like we have to redefine what parenting is, right? Parent your way. Parent the way that God has given you, right? They say spare the rod, spoil the child. No, you have to be aware of your child, how they process things, how they look at you. How they look at you, that goes back to self-awareness, not having ownership of how you talk to your kids, not having ownership of how you treat them, not having ownership of how you respond, not being willing to change your approach as a parent is going to traumatize your kids. It's going to diminish your relationship. When you have that separation when they get to like 12, 13, 14, and you have conflict, they're not listening, they're doing it. Think about how they were raised. Think about everything that happened up to that moment. You're not giving them love at home, but then they're getting love at school. They're getting love on social media, but you attack them for being on social media, but that's their safe space. Right? Be aware of your children. And when I went to social media, that brings me to my third thing, which is environment awareness. Excuse me. Environment awareness. Be aware of the environment, what's around your children. Take note what they're watching. Take note of where they go to school, who they hang with, who you bring around them, family members. Environmental awareness, what's happening in the world, right? And how do we relay that to our kids? A big thing that's in the Black community is police brutality and killing our Black men. How do we teach that? How do we, show our kids how to navigate in the environment and the world, right? Do we teach them just to be afraid? Look at this. Don't trust any cops because they're gonna all kill you. No, this is how you move. This is how you move in this kind of environment, right? And my dad was he was a police officer, I believe, for like two years, and in that 2 years time, he had got into an accident. From what I remember, he got in an accident while he was on duty. Car flipped, and he was done with that, and then he went on to work a different career. But even in that, he learned so much, and he equipped us to it. Like he would say, when you get pulled over, put your hands up on the wheel so they know right off the gate, that you're safe. You always have these things. This is how you talk to a police officer, right? And for the most part, besides me getting speeding tickets, I never really had that experience that I'm seeing heavily in the news. But most of my interactions with police officers was in a way that my dad taught me. My dad raised me how to act out and sorry, truly, I know that you can't say that for everyone. And we see the footages, we see the videos. We just got to be aware of our environment, but we also have to educate each other. We have to educate our children on how to maneuver in these environments. And so I'm grateful to have a father that taught me, and I'm on here teaching you guys. I'm teaching my kids, just taking my life experience and allowing that to kind of get you thinking. This podcast is really to get you thinking about how to be a better father. And if you have no self-awareness, then you're not going to be aware of what your kids are going through, right? When this pandemic hit, kids had to do homeschool on a whim. Juniors and seniors couldn't do prom. Like the social media thing is taking over. TikTok is taking over. Everything is on another level. And so we hear kids are like killing themselves, they're depressed. We don't realize all the demonic influences and all the different things that are out there. When we were kids, most TV shows were censored, or our parents knew what we were watching. Now we got streaming service galore, that show stuff randomly, like, and anything goes on these networks. And so when we used to watch like Disney and Nickelodeon, there was some kind of sense to that, to where now they if you're not paying attention, your kid is watching some show on Disney or some show on some platform that has nothing to do with kids, and they're indoctrinating our kids, because we just let the TV, we let the games, we let everything raise our kids. That's the environment. That's the child awareness. We have to be mindful of that. And we have to be mindful of ourselves. Like, am I taking time with my kids? And if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I don't know the last time I actually sat and played with my kids with no phone. I actually just sat and watched the show my kid liked with no interruption, no phone, just sat there with them and just enjoyed the time. When was the last time you did that? If you have not done that in a while, make sure you make time this week to do that. And remember, take time to open up to being self-aware. Really dig deep and realize who you are as a father, so you can make those adjustments and those changes to be an even greater father. Be aware of those kids. Be aware of your children, your impact on them, what you say and what you do, and how you say these things, and how they internalize it, and the environment. We can control that to an extent. So whatever we can to make the environment as great as it can be, let's do that. It's time to man up. So let's man up.